Paul, you ready? You are. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We are very excited to have Mr. Paul Demeda tonight with us talking about detoxification, and which is one of his longtime bailiwicks. And he'll tell you a little bit more about from whence that came when he is on screen. So I'm Julie Rickert. I've been at IHN for about 15 years, manage co-op, guest speakers, continuing education, and work with the alumni and faculty for professional practice, and love every moment of it, and know so many of you joining us tonight. And I'm so excited to be here and spend the next hour or so with you, Paul. It's about an hour lecture.
That's the plan.
Yeah. That's the plan. And then with Q&A afterwards, but it's okay. We all love what you have to say. So we're here at least for an hour with you. So you're going to be talking about toxins. Well, actually detoxification, but toxins and you know what? I'm not even going to say anything because it is pedestrian compared to what you are going to tell us. Now, I do want to share with everyone, we're going to do the Q&A afterwards. So please put your questions in the Q&A and not the chat for Paul and I to go through afterwards. And that'll be wonderful. So Paul's open to any and all questions. So please do ask away. Paul has been in the field for about 20 years, and he is been in working particularly with holistic nutrition in a clinical space for about 17 years. Is that right? Or is it a full 20?
It's about 17.
17. Okay. So you've been faculty at IHN for probably almost all that time, for a good 17 years, on and off in the diploma program. And now, as you have earned a deep body of knowledge, you're in our advanced continuing education program. And this is really a webinar that shares with us some of the expertise you're going to share in a detox content coming up, right? Yeah. Okay. Very good. So why don't we get to that? So please let us know a little bit about, a little more about you, what you've been up to in the 20 years and what you are going to be doing, as well as dialogue on the talk. And we're ready to listen.
Okay, so away we go. So my name's Paul Demeda, and I am a holistic nutritionist, and talked about detox, and detox is the reason for me being here, for me getting into the nutrition world. If you've been a student of mine, you know that I had multiple chemical sensitivities, and that is where you basically become, I'm going to say, allergic to toxins at a level way beyond anybody else or the average population. And if I look back, it came from a period of high stress and low-level chronic exposure, and a few other things that kind of compounded. And so I got to the point where, you know, I really probably would not be here today if I hadn't gone to a doctor who was, first of all, integrative and knew what she was working with. And the cool thing was I worked with my integrative doctor and naturopath. And within 6 months from being close to pretty much dying to 100% healthy, which was pretty incredible. Did many detoxes in 6 months, but all worth it. And just seeing what was possible, seeing that transformation myself, made me decide I wanted to get into this and help other people. And the first step was going to IHN, which I did. And then I got through the program, graduated, and then I started working with clients right away. And I was a little hesitant about detox, but as I learned more and more from orthomolecular sources and continuing ed programs outside of my little realm at the time, I started to get more and more confidence. And, I think the big bonus for me was I had actually gone through the process and saw it work. So I felt more confident in using it than most people would initially. And so that became my passion. I taught at the school for like 17 years, most of that in the daytime, full-time program. And I did courses like fundamentals, preventative, symptomatology 1, and I even did professional skills 2. That was my first course ever teaching. And then now I teach the clinical detox, and tomorrow will be the last class of this year's nutrition and mental health class. So broad perspective, broad range of things, but I hardly go a day without talking about detox because it ties into everything, especially mental health. I started about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, a little longer, working for the International Society for Molecular Medicine. I'm a program facilitator there, and I help make some projects happen and put things together so that we can actually educate doctors and the public. One of my jobs is right there. One of my jobs was writing this book, Light on Schizophrenia. So updating Abram Hoffer's original book, I think it was 2009, updating it with current knowledge, reinforcing knowledge, and a couple sections from top orthomolecular doctors who are doing mental health. That took over a year to pull together, but nice little project. Also help facilitate the publishing of the Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine. And currently we are working on mental health pages. So we have an anxiety page and a schizophrenia page to educate the public, which we are releasing in 3 weeks on the day that we have Dr. Greenblatt do a public forum webinar on anxiety. So very exciting stuff for us there. So a lot of my focus is on orthomolecular practice and evidence for doing things orthomolecular. And orthomolecular essentially means using the nutrients that are made by the body or required by the body to function, and using them to support health or restore health. And so a lot of that includes detoxification. And so that brings me to tonight's topic. And so we are going to get right into that. And I'll share the screen. And hit the play button. Okay, every once in a while the screens freeze. So if they freeze, post something in the chat box so that I can see that. Okay, so here we go. Improve your life by reducing toxins in your home and your body. And so we're going to cover both aspects of reducing and detoxing. And I'm going to do it in a kind of little different way. And we are going to start with a pretty picture. This was there to represent the tapestry of everything that's tied to detoxification. And so here we go. I've talked to many students, many graduates about detoxification. I asked them if they do it, if they ever done it on themselves, or if they've done it with clients, and they go, well, no. And it's, why not? Well, I'm uncomfortable doing it. And so there's a lot of reasons why. Not thinking you know enough, that's a good one. Not having practice, that's another good one. But the other one is all the stuff that we see from skeptics. And so I'm going to cover the skeptics right now. And it kind of goes like this. Skeptics are all over the place, and if you type detox in, you are going to get many hits saying detox bad. And so here's just one of them. This is from a web page called Science-Based Medicine. And nowadays, science is a bad word in my view. It's been hijacked. So to mean something else, I don't know what else it is, but not science for sure. So here we go. Detox scam, how to spot it, how to avoid it. Look, they even got Dr. Oz in there in the scam part. And so, oh, look, they got some nice detox products. And so basically it gets labeled as a scam. And so basically, what is the scam articles? What do they say? Pretty much 4 or 5 things, which I'm going to go through now. Here's the first one. We're not accumulating toxins. There's no toxins. You don't have to search hard to find that. And so here's a post to discredit that. And this is from Environmental Working Group. And it talks about the body burden pollution in newborns. So basically what they did was umbilical cord samples. So they take the umbilical cords with permission of the mother and they draw blood out of it. And then they send the blood off to the lab and they see what they find for toxins. And this is the article they published, but if we look down here, 287 chemicals were detected in umbilical cord blood. So this is chemistry that was not there 100 years ago in humans. 80 of those chemicals cause cancer and 217 toxic to the brain, and 208 cause birth defects and abnormal development in animal tests. So to say that there's no toxins, all you have to do is look at this. If you look into PubMed, so this is a search I did. So PubMed is the kind of index of published research focusing on journals, but there's a little more than just journals in there. It's one of the standard sources where doctors go. Here we go. So you do a search PubMed, environmental toxins, and you get 960,000 results for that. And so that means there is a lot of talk about environmental toxins, a lot of published talk on toxins. If they didn't exist, there wouldn't be that many articles. So the next thing you hear is toxins don't cause illness. We've been exposed to them, maybe in chronic or acute exposure, but not generally speaking. So once again, searching PubMed environmental toxins, we get articles on pesticides, health impact of pesticides, environmental toxins, physical, social, emotional, allergies, inflammation, neurodegenerative diseases, and pregnancy loss. And it goes on and on and on. There are literally thousands of articles talking about the effects of toxins on the human body. And these are not acute exposures. These are common day exposures. Here's one, environmental mercury and its toxic effects. And so basically environmental mercury, this one's talking about epigenetics, environmental chemicals. Basically chemicals affect our genes or translation of genes or the way we utilize our genes. This one basically says obesity and diabetes tied to environmental chemicals. And so here is it's a comprehensive but not complete list of health issues tied to toxins. So we got the whole slew of things that are across the digestive tract board. We got the whole slew of things that are tied to mental health, depression, anxiety. How often do doctors check for environmental toxins with patients with anxiety and depression? ADD, ADHD, almost never. The skin conditions, the metabolic conditions, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, the whole range of hormone issues, all tied to environmental toxins, especially heavy metals and chemicals, and then pain, kidney stuff, liver stuff, and then decreased immunity, which is important at this time of day, shingles, and then cancer. So there is a whole range of things that we know, and there's published research on, that shows that toxins are tied to health problems. So the next one is detoxes do not remove toxins. This one, every time I do this talk, I do a little more research and I just get angry. So much BS out there. And so we can counter that by this effective a short-term program detoxification and disease-free individuals. They took a bunch of people who didn't even have toxicity issues or disease issues, and they put them on a detox. They did it for 7 days, and they found a increase of 23% in liver detoxification, measuring by how well they could clear caffeine, which is a standard test, and increase in urinary sulfate to creatinine ratio, which basically shows the availability of sulfur for doing detox and liver function. So 7 days with clinical markers showing improvement. And I could go on, but this is only an hour talk. Detoxes can be harmful. Well, that was actually true. You can mess up detoxes But what does the research say? Because this is what you hear over and over and over again. They're dangerous, they're harmful. And so a simple PubMed search here gets 14 results for detox and harmful. And look, this one, interplay between digital media use and development. So this is about media detox, not even chemical detox. And the second one is like that. You have to scroll all the way quite down a bit to get to anything even close to environmental toxin detoxes, but only 14 results. And if you switch it up and do detoxification and dangerous, there's 176 results. And remember, for detox or toxins, environmental toxins and detox, you get 960,000 hits. For detox is dangerous in the published research, you get less than 200 total. And so let's take a look at these things. Detox diets for toxin elimination, weight management, a critical review of the evidence. And so what's the dangerous part? And so here's what they said. To the best of our knowledge, no randomized control trials have been conducted to assess the effectiveness of commercial detox diets in humans. So basically what they're saying is no RCTs, therefore dangerous. That is the level of evidence that they're talking about in this article. And then the second one, even though intoxications are common, there's still no internationally valid guideline concerning administration of activated charcoal. So this is about charcoal. And so basically it's dangerous because there's no international guidelines. So what I'd like to see is charcoal is bad because, and here's our proof, they don't do that. And you see this over and over and over again. Other things you'll hear is the body is fully capable of eliminating toxins we're exposed to. We don't need to do anything. This one comes up over and over and over again. Just drives me nuts. It's like these people live in a shell and they don't look outside at the world. So basically when you say that, or when they say that, they're considering only acute exposure. So we'll say lead exposure from working in an industrial environment, or pesticides from applying pesticides. They don't look at low chronic level exposures. They don't even consider them. So I kind of counter that with this, things that did not exist when our detox systems were created, which is, depending on where you want to start the clock, 10,000 years ago, 20,000, 500,000 years ago, these things did not exist. So heavy metals, pesticides and herbicides, petrochemicals and products, exhaust, mold, toxins, chronic stress. So all these things that are new that our system has to deal with that it didn't back then. But there's more. Nutrient-free food. So food detoxification is nutrient-intensive process. So we need to have nutrients in the body, and a lot of our food is low toxin-rich food, which is, you go to the grocery store, 70% or more is toxin-rich food, processed foods, all that kind of stuff. Sugar, starches, which drive a bunch of systems in the body that will they will basically disrupt other systems in the body. They'll interfere with them. And those systems can be tied to detoxification. Genetic polymorphisms tied to detoxification. So those have been around. I mean, there are a lot of genetic polymorphisms now, especially in the methylation pathway enzymes and genes, but those get worse as time goes by. So the further back in history you go, the less of them they were. So those weren't around. And then 40 to 60% less nutrients in food. We need those nutrients for detoxification. And here's a nice little chart that shows how much the amount of minerals have decreased over time. And it's between 50 and 60% for a lot of things in vegetables. And this is another study that showed these are US population with intakes below the estimated average requirements. So this is not even, the ERAs are like bare minimums as far as orthomolecular is concerned. And these lines represent the amount of population who are below the ERAs. And so all the nutrients that are important for detoxification, they're not as prevalent. People are deficient in them. This is an article I found. This is called Detoxing Hypocrisy. And so article summary is newsletter going to deal with two of my biggest pet peeves, medical communities hypocrisy when it comes to detoxing. And the hypocrisy is basically this: detoxification works when we do it. It doesn't work when anyone but us does it. And then the second hypocrisy thing is when it comes to claiming studies supporting detoxes are insufficient. So basically they go, if you don't have an RCT, there's no proof. And it doesn't matter that thousands of people have done them and safely with, we got case studies, and then we have smaller studies. That doesn't matter. If it's not an RCT, a randomized control trial, then it's not evidence. And just so we're clear, the average RCT costs about $30 million if you're a drug company. So who's going to do a clinical study on detoxification that's an RCT of sufficient size? Who's got $30 million in their pocket? Just because no one's done a study that satisfies their criteria doesn't mean it's not true. So a little more on that. This is from a talk I did called Facts, Fictions, and Fairy Tales, where I basically talked about the problem with research and the problem with the medical model of the research. And so this is actually from BMJ, British Medical Journal, and said the clinical trial is not the be all and end all. Evidence-based rock of certainty, shifting sands. Evidence-based medicine is based on the wrong evidence. And so basically it's saying that RCTs aren't that good. Ironically, I just looked at this again. The person who wrote this started on it because they were looking up to see if coffee causes a raise in blood pressure. And they found that most of the research said that coffee increases blood pressure. 4 said no difference if you had coffee or not. And 2 of them said it reduces blood pressure. All of these are RCTs. How can this possibly be if RCTs are the gold standard? This is another one: why most published research findings are false. And basically it boils down to this: bias, bias, bias. And so it's bias in, the bias is, here's the result we want to get. And then here's how you design the study to get the result we want to get. And it goes on and on and on. And so RCT is the very evidence that mainstream medicine demands, basically can't show what it needs to show, especially in the context of detoxification. So all that said, it would be good to understand how detox works, and then we can see what we can do about it. So how does it work? I'm going to do this all with visuals. So here we go. We have a toxin that's in the bloodstream, and it arrives at the liver, and it goes into phase 1. So liver cells are, just consider them little bags, and inside the little bag, there's going to be a whole bunch of phase 1 enzymes and a whole bunch of phase 2 enzymes. They each do different things. So phase 1 enzyme in the liver, toxin comes in and it does something. It detoxes the toxin in one way or another, does an enzymatic change on it, and makes it possible to take it and put it in the blood, and then it's going to leave the body through urine or the lungs or the skin. One thing to note is every time you detox a toxin in phase 1, you generate a free radical, and if free radicals aren't countered with antioxidants, you damage the liver cells and the structures inside. So in order to do that phase 1 reaction, the body needs vitamins and minerals, not just for antioxidant purposes, but for cofactors in the enzymes that do detox. We also need protein because enzymes are made of protein, and protein is also used elsewhere in the process. And then we need specifically antioxidants. So that's the phase 1 thing. If the toxin is fat soluble, phase 1 has to modify it to be water soluble because we can't eliminate toxins if they're fat soluble. So what happens is that toxin gets changed, and it gets made into what's called a toxic intermediate. And so it is red here to show that it's toxic. So it's actually more toxic now than it was before. It came into the liver. The reason it is more toxic is because it's more reactive. And the reason it's more reactive is so that we can stick something to it to make it water soluble. And so that toxin goes into the phase 2 enzyme, and the enzyme does its job. What does it do? It sticks a conjugate. And here's a view of the main conjugates that we stick to the toxins. So these are the things that when we stick them to the toxin, they become water soluble. Every time we do that, sticking on, we generate another free radical. And so we have to counter that again with antioxidants. So now we have the toxin plus the conjugate. They're together, water soluble, and we can put them either into the blood or into the bile, and they will go into the GI tract if you put it in bile, and it will be eliminated. If it goes in the blood, most of it will leave through the urine. Some always goes through the lung, it's in the skin. So key nutrients needed for detoxification, here they are. And so this is one of the most important things you must understand. Detoxification is nutrient intensive, requires nutrients. So we need the vitamins, the minerals, we need the protein. We also need some sources of energy. So either carbohydrate or fats or also protein. We need the main antioxidants, ACE, glutathione, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase. There's actually a few others. We need the conjugates. So there's the list that I just showed you. And the most important conjugate we have and the most important antioxidant we have for detoxification, both glutathione. And so what do we need to make glutathione? Vitamin C and acetylcysteine, alpha lipoic acid, glycine, glutamic acid, B6, B12, folate, selenium, and zinc. And so just keep in mind when you look at all of this, that chart that showed all the nutrient deficiencies that people go through. This is what you need to safely do detox. If you don't, there are going to be some problems. So here's what happens. If we have our toxins in and we have enough capacity here, the toxins all go out and everything's good. Check mark. If we have more toxins come in than we have capacity, we will detox some of them and the rest will go back into the bloodstream, go back into circulation, which is not good. Wrong way. Oh, here we go. If we have a normal amount of toxins in, but decreased capacity, then we'll decrease some of them, but then some of the toxins that normally would have been detoxed go back into the bloodstream, not good. And then the last scenario, which is ideal, normal amount of toxins, increased capacity for detoxification, and we detox all the toxins we have, plus we have reserves to be able to detox anything we might run into on a day-to-day basis. So if we have more toxins come in than we can detox, we generate toxins. If we have toxins come in, but we don't have capacity, the toxins go in, and so they go into the body. The fat soluble toxins have the affinity for the fat cells, the liver, the brain, nervous system. Remember, the nerves in the body, the long ones that go down the legs and the arms, are the longest cells in the body. They have the biggest surface area, and they are very susceptible to toxin damage. We also get the bone marrow, which leads to certain complications. Water soluble toxins have the affinity for the blood, tissues, muscles, and joints, and cause problems there. So how do we detox? Well, I'm going to show you a few things. This is one thing I found actually today. I was looking for some fun stuff. And so this is an example of how people don't like detoxification. Many ways to do a detox diet, ranging from total starvation, that's not a detox diet, to simpler food modifications. Okay, most detox involve at least one of the following. So fasting for 1 to 3 days, that's not detox, that's fasting. So drinking fresh fruit and vegetable juices, smoothies and waters and tea, that's not really a detox, but it does help promote detoxification. Drinking only specific liquids such as salted water or lemon juice or the master cleanse, that's not a detox. That is just reducing things. So basically lowering your toxic load. Eliminating foods high in heavy metals, contaminants, and allergens, that's not detox. That's just plain common sense, things we should be doing anyway. Taking supplements or herbs, yes, that can be part of a detox. Avoiding all allergenic foods and slowly reintroducing them, that's not detox. That is just an allergy elimination protocol. Using laxatives, colon cleanses, or enemas, not really a detox because that's already after the fact. Detox happens inside the body, but that might support certain cleanses and things like that. Exercising regularly, that's not detox, can support detox. And then completely eliminating alcohol, coffee, cigarettes, and refined sugar, that's not detox. That is just eliminating stuff. Oh, and by the way, there is evidence, good evidence, that keeping coffee in during detox actually promotes a better detox because it raises glutathione levels. So I don't know if anybody's eyes were wandering, but anybody will think it's kind of weird that a website called Healthline is promoting GMO soy-based toxin frankenfoods. Kind of weird, eh? That might be a clue as to the validity of the rest of the article. Okay, so cleanses and fasting. So cleanses are different from detox. Fasting's different from detox. Both of them can support detox. Detoxification, technically speaking, means the act of removing toxins from the body by the liver, processing the liver, and then sending them out. But with cleanses and fasting, typically there's lots of water or lots of liquids, and also removing bad stuff from the diet. So processed foods, sugars and starches, alcohol. I don't know if people who smoke would stop, but there you go. So the bad stuff comes out, and then increasing plants in the diet for vitamins and minerals, water, and then most importantly, fiber. So that could be a cleanse. And so if you don't do that properly, if somebody doesn't do a cleanse properly, so they say they just stick to, say, the watermelon cleanse, which is very bizarre, but there you go, eat nothing but watermelons for a week, you're going to not have all those nutrients that were on that page, and you're not going to have the fiber. And so what's going to happen is the toxins are going to not be eliminated properly. And so you don't have the nutrients, you don't have the binders, and big problem. So here's a nice quote that I like to refer to time and time again. The long-term side effects resulting from inadequate nutrition may often be explained away as a healing crisis or a bad detoxification process. And yes, detoxification reactions happen going on with healing, but you got to look at them and differentiate them from adverse reactions arising from nutritionally inadequate diets. So doing detoxes without the supporting nutrients. And I'm going to tell you, most of the times I see people come in and say, oh yeah, I did a detox and it was terrible. I got sick. And I asked them what they did. It was one of these diets where it's a cleanse, you remove stuff, but no supporting nutrients going in. And so it makes perfect sense that it would go bad. However, if you do cleanses and fasting properly, so you make sure all the nutrients are there one way or another, so proper, maybe juicing, proper supplement support, then you potentially have a safe and effective way to get rid of toxins. So there are 3 stages of detox in my book. I have an article on my website that basically goes through all of this. I'm going to go through it kind of in a nutshell here. And so here we go. Stage 1, decrease the incoming toxins. You know, one of my favorite quotes, I think it's from Dr. Thomas Levy, you can't dry off in the shower. And so you can't get dry with a towel in the shower. You can't eliminate toxins if they keep coming in, if you haven't removed them. So first thing to address. And so we got to decrease the incoming toxins. And so what are they? The big ones from the food base of sugar, wheat, gluten, dairy, coffee, and alcohol. So these are, pure sugar, by the way, is not a toxin, but it kicks off metabolic stuff that does increase toxic load. And if it feeds the bad guys in the gut, then now we have toxins. Same for wheat. Gluten improperly digested can give us toxic compounds. Dairy, yes or no, depending on the person. But generally, these are things you take out. Coffee, not organic coffee, I would consider toxic. Organic coffee on its own, or maybe with a little organic cream, I would not consider toxic. I consider it supportive. And then alcohol. Alcohol always gives us a toxic load, but there are some benefits to alcohol, like getting people out of stress in moderation. However, during a purposeful detox, I would take the alcohol out. Processed foods are just full of garbage, toxins. That's how they make them and keep them around for 10 to 15 years without dying or killing or going moldy and stuff. So you take all those things out. There are foods that are high in pesticides and herbicides and all that. One of my favorite resources that I give to clients is this one, the Environmental Working Group, Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So Dirty Dozen are the 12 things that you should never eat non-organic, and disappointing because a lot of those things are very expensive organic, but they are the ones that, according to the research that the Environmental Working Group does, so they basically go around and sample foods in supermarkets. These are the ones that will give you the highest toxic hit. If you go for the Clean 15, which I didn't put here, but those foods, if you do both, you eliminate the Dirty Dozen, and not you don't have to. The Clean 15 are the ones that are the cleanest, low pesticide residues. You can reduce your pesticide load by, I think it's up to 80% just by looking at those two things. So the key ones, though, that everybody's got to do organic or not at all: carrots and potatoes. If you're a farmer and you want to go organic farming, you want to get certified and your field has heavy metals in it, you plant carrots, because carrots are really good at sucking up the toxins, the heavy metals. So we don't want to eat those. We don't want to eat potatoes for the same reason. Or eggs are high in fat and cholesterol. And so if there are pesticide residues, those are all fat soluble. So the eggs will concentrate them. Dairy and meat, same thing. Farmed fish, with the exception of a few highly ethical fish farms, most fish that is farmed is toxic. And yeah, good luck finding clean fish. It has to be wild caught. And then large fish, the bigger the fish, the more it is up in the chain, the more toxic metals that it accumulates. You want to also decrease any foods with additives, artificial flavor, color. If you see the word color, don't even pick it up. Artificial sweeteners, all of those things are toxins to the body. And so, if you are eating packages, you got to check for this kind of stuff. Ideally, you don't eat from packages. This is a few pictures I took way back when for my detox course. This is processed food. And if you look at it, these are massive sources of toxins. The nutrient loads from these are virtually zero, and the toxic load is very high. So other ways to decrease the toxins: avoid aluminum. Aluminum leaches into foods, especially acid foods like tomatoes. And so that nice lasagna in the aluminum pan is just leaching the aluminum in. Teflon coatings will leach into the food. Plastic wraps, all those things will leach phthalates and other chemicals into the food. This is a quick overview. So here we go. How do you make your food toxic? Yeah, do it in metal cookware, aluminum cookware. If you take your fries or your foods and do it in omega-6 oils, then you'll generate hundreds of different toxic metabolites. Baking bread, anytime you get this hard baked stuff, you get advanced glycation end products, and plastic storing of foods. Plastic there just leaches it in, and then we got your Teflon. So personal products, which is a huge source for a lot of people. Fluoride toothpaste, obviously fluoride, which is toxic to humans. Soaps, shampoos, conditioners, colors, artificial ingredients, chemicals, deodorants, that kind of stuff. Fragrances, highly toxic, and made especially so because you want those fragrances to spread. You need a carrier molecules, and the key carrier molecules are cancer causing, so benzene, xylene, and toluene. Lipstick, I once saw, it was actually at Square One, and it was a block that was about 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, painted red. And it said, this is how much lipstick the average woman eats in a year. So lipstick, those colors, usually heavy metals as in there. And makeup, a lot of makeup, especially lower quality stuff, heavy metals. And so this is where most women, and now a lot of men, get most of their toxic load from these aisles. And so there we go. Air fresheners, scented candles, live detergents, cleaning products, all those are sources of toxins as well. The synthetic fabrics, clothes, and the home. Yes, paint, stains, glues, adhesives, vinyl, the vinyl flooring outgasses for up to 10 years, carpeting outgasses for 10 years, laminate flooring. There's actually the good quality, very hard laminate flooring. Flooring is very low release of VOCs, but some of the other stuff, very, very bad. Pressure treated wood, full of arsenic and copper, things like that. Pesticides, obviously. Some of the key toxins, heavy metals, so lead, cadmium, mercury, and aluminum, and bromine. Actually, when I had my chemical sensitivities, was toxic in lead and mercury. Chemicals, pesticides, hormone mimickers, and sensitizers, all of those things. This is a shot glass that I bought at the LA airport first time I went, and I had an hour to kill. And I was looking at the shot glasses, and it's like $7 US for a shot glass. No way. And then I looked at the bottom, and in California, they have something called Proposition 42, I believe it is, which states if you knowingly sell a product to a consumer and do not advise them of the health risks of that product, you are liable to not only being sued, but also the fines, and even the board of directors can be in serious financial trouble. And so everything in California is labeled that way. The bottom of this, so this is why I bought it. I flipped it in the bottom, and I just looked at it and it said, warning, this product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause birth defects and cancer, namely chromium. So crazy stuff. And what's the difference between this shot glass and the shot glass you might get downtown Toronto on the waterfront or in Paris or somewhere else? This one has a label on the bottom and the other ones don't. This is a little elephant. It's about 2 inches across. My dad had an elephant collection. And so every year we would, for Father's Day and birthday, we would get him elephants. And this one, I found it at the dollar store. I picked it up and I go, wow, this is really heavy. And I go, I wonder if it's lead. So I went over to the stationery section, and they have the place where people test their pens out. I took this elephant in the trunk and I drew a nice line as if it was a pencil. It was that clear. This thing was mostly lead. Now, and lead is toxic. It's not supposed to be anywhere on any of the shelves. And the weird thing was, this was just 2 weeks after Health Canada shut down all the dollar stores. This is about 10 years ago, I guess. Shut down all the dollar stores in Canada because they found lead in children's products. And so they did their big show of, hey, look what we're doing. And they removed all the products and they left the other sources of lead on the shelves. So much for that. So lead is still everywhere in our environment. Every single molecule of lead that was in gasoline is still there on the side of the road and in the grass by the side of the road. And on dry summer days with the wind up, the lead gets in the air, we inhale it. So that's the bad news. What do we do about this? We support the body detoxification. So here we go. The first part, if you picture our detox capacity. Here's the body there. We have a river of muddy water coming in. That's the load that we're getting every day, day in. That's the shower part. And so we're going to stop that, which we just did. We found everything, got rid of it. Second part is we got a muddy pond here. Now we want to clear out the water in the pond. And so the liver does detox. It has that capacity, always working. It's working on everybody right now. And so it has a capacity to handle a certain amount. So we're going to talk about that. So 7 foods that support detoxification. What are we doing here? Oh, no. 7 foods that support detoxification. Here we go. Good quality protein. You can't detox without protein. We've seen it over and over again. It's actually dangerous. So legumes and beans are sources or support detoxification, mostly for their fiber content. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, lots of fiber, but also sulfur and other supporting nutrients, some of them which ramp up the activity of our detox enzymes. Same for the oranges, tangerines, and citrus peel. Dill and caraway also upregulate detoxification enzymes. Flax seeds, ground flaxseed, ideally, those fibers bind up toxins. And then we got dark leafy greens that we get the chlorophyll, and we get some other molecules in there that help bind up toxins. Turmeric has a few roles. One of it is upregulates detoxification enzymes, but also it helps turn down inflammation. And so if we're highly toxic, the body's going to be inflamed, and the liver, when it's inflamed, then doesn't work as well. Supplements that support detoxification. We have vitamin C. Vitamin C is a no-brainer for detox. Vitamin E. So we got our fast-soluble antioxidant and our water-soluble antioxidant, and acetylcysteine, which acts as an antioxidant on its own. It's also required to make glutathione. Alpha lipoic acid, which has some antioxidant properties on its own, detox activation properties, and then it's required to make glutathione. Detoxification is energy intensive. We need to make ATP to do detox reactions. And so we're going to need many of the beta complex vitamins. Fish oils have some roles that actually activate, upregulate detox enzymes, but also anti-inflammatory. And then milk thistle is the herb that upregulates the detoxification enzymes, production of enzymes, and helps repair liver damage. So good all-around herbal there. Other things that support detoxification: good quality multivitamin, multimineral, green drinks and powders for binding agents, especially chlorella, spirulina, and vitamins. Probiotics. A lot of our toxic load comes from the gut. And so if we have too many bad bacteria, yeast, and molds, then we will be generating toxins. If we have more of the good guys, we will be, our probiotics can actually detox toxins for us, but they also help with the removal process, and they help get inflammation down. So probiotics are beneficial. Then there's the binders that are not the things we already covered, things like activated charcoal, diatomaceous earth, zeolites, and things like that. So it's part of the general detoxification. I tend to leave the binders out unless it's very small amounts as a day-to-day thing. So once we've done that, so let's say, once we've done that, where we have essentially cleared out the pond, now we have this residue. These are the toxins that have been stored in the tissues and the bones and things like that. And once the circulating toxins have been removed and the liver has got its capacity up, the body's tissues start releasing their stored stuff. And that's this black sludge at the bottom. And so you have to do deeper work to get that out. And so here we go. Actions to support deeper detoxification. So you got to provide the basic nutrients needed for detox. Yes. You want to upregulate liver detox enzymes. So make them work faster, make the cells transcribe more of those enzymes so that we have more capacity. You want to increase the bile flow because we have to carry those toxins out once they've been conjugated. And you want to increase digestive tract motility, not too much, but you want to increase it so that we are moving the toxins through. And then you want to bind the toxins in the gut. So you want to have those fibers and things like zeolite and the charcoal, and you want to upregulate the kidney, or at least give it some more capacity, give it the nutrients it needs to do its job, because some of the toxins leave by going through the kidneys then into the urine. You want to support the lymphatic system, so we want to be able to carry the toxins from the tissues to the liver. And so how do we do that? There are kits and supplements for deeper detox. So I tend to use these powders that are comprehensive. I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. And there are specialized supplements, although they're becoming fewer and far between thanks to Health Canada. And then detox and other kits. So detox powders that are still on the market look like this. Most of these are special orders because not a lot of people do them, and they're expensive, but so you'd have to order them special online. A few health food stores still carry some of these. Why do we use the powders? Because they contain everything that we need for detox: protein, antioxidants. We see them in here: vitamin A, C, D, E. The B vitamins are all there. The methyl donators, because one of the conjugates are methyl nutrients. We have the minerals. We got calcium there. Calcium goes in when things like lead and mercury come out. We want to put calcium in so that we don't reabsorb the lead and mercury. And we have zinc and selenium, they're required to make glutathione, and antioxidants. We have molybdenum, which is required to make glutathione. We got the fibers here for detox support, binding up the toxins. We have some of the, like glutamine is for energy, and we got glycine as a conjugate. We have the alginase chlorella for binding in the gut, and then we have glutathione promoting nutrients there. MSM for the sulfur, which we need to make glutathione, and a few other things: alpha lipoic acid, milk thistle, broccoli, and glucarate. Calcium D-glucarate is one of the things, conjugates that we stick, especially hormones too. So when you buy the powder, you got the full package. You give the person the powder, or they take the powder, and they know they're covered for all aspects of detox. So kind of takes the stress out. There are other brands, other companies make them, but they all basically have the same components to do the same jobs. Detox kits, you can also get other ones. I don't use these because I'm a firm believer in putting nutrients in to increase, as opposed to using herbals to upregulate where you may not necessarily get the nutrients you need. So you increase the action, but you still need those nutrients. But some of the things they do is upregulate, turn on the activity of the enzymes, increase bile flow, increase digestive motility, provide some nutrients. But I will tell you, always add vitamin C to any of these kits. In addition, I have tested many products with and without the vitamin C. Well, let's put it this way: without, until I couldn't stand it anymore, and then add the vitamin C and the negative effects went away. So I recommend minimum 6 grams of vitamin C during a detox, minimum. Further support for detox, limiting food. That one I'm questionable about. I would say crappy food for sure. High digestive requirement food. So the hard to digest foods. So you can do shakes. Fasting, I still absolutely recommend meat and eggs, fish, poultry during detox. It's absolutely. Sauna helps us eliminate toxins through the skin. Juicing can be useful, but not, I wouldn't do it on its own on somebody who is brand new to detoxing, because it tends to be unsupportive. Some people swear by it. I tend to go with what the experts that I work with and have been involved with or study go with, and they say juicing on its own, not really a good idea. Like, I mean, juicing 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. Coffee enemas, they work by the caffeine gets absorbed and in the rectum, and it goes directly to the liver, and it increases glutathione production. That is what coffee enemas do. I wondered, having coffee that way works. What about doing it this way? Does that work? And yes, there's actually published research that says, yes, drinking coffee increases glutathione production. So there you go. Colonics can help, especially for people who do fasting. So if you are fasting, you don't eat any food, you don't move anything through the GI tract because there's nothing to move through. There's nothing to push against. So colonics help clear that whole large intestine out and prevent you from reabsorbing stuff. Other considerations when detoxing: digestion must be working well. If it's not working well, you got to work on that first. Don't detox if constipated. I had a client come to me who was quite sick. Skin was terrible, energy terrible, headaches, and she had been working with a naturopath. And so when it came time to pull out the supplements, she pulled out her supplements, and they were 3 detox supplements, all designed to draw toxins out of the body. And basically, she was constipated before she went into it, and this just made everything worse, and all the toxins just built up. It was a mess. Drink lots of water. You need to move everything. Water is like the universal solvent everywhere, including in the body. Make sure you get enough fiber. If you're not getting enough fiber in there, you can supplement, but if you're going to supplement fiber, make sure you get water. You want to support a neutral pH. Basically, the tissues need a neutral, slightly alkaline pH in order to open up the space between the molecules to allow the heavy metals and other things to get out. Extra vitamin C, can't emphasize that enough. You have to be emotionally and logically ready, or logistically ready, to do a detox. You can't go, today I start, and then you figure out how to do it, because it'll fail most of the time. And if you're sick or stressed, you need your energy to deal with that. Of course, there's always exceptions. Sometimes the detox is the way to get out of this sickness, but you have to support it properly. A few other considerations: if you get serious reactions, it means you're overdoing something, being unsupported. So decrease it, what you're doing, or discontinue it. Most people will feel a decrease in energy initially, followed by an increase in energy and a sense of well-being. I've had clients tell me in the middle of a 10-day detox, this is the best I have felt in a long, long time. And then it tends to go down a little bit after the detox. So what do I do in practice with clients? Ensure digestion is working properly. Always address leaky gut if you suspect it, because if you're just going to leak the toxins right back in toxic form, or you're just going to leak in the environmental toxins, you're just behind the game there. You want to build first. Always build. I tend to build for a minimum of 6 weeks with people before I even consider detoxifications. If you are qualified, or you have some tools to address emotional imbalances, do that. If not, don't do that. General detox kits is where I would start. So those powders would be the first step, first round of detox. And then after that's done, lymphatic protocol, depending on what the person needs, a heavy metal detox, homeopathic detox remedies, and other things that, for example, I will be teaching in a course. And then repeat. So when I had my chemical sensitivities, I did that. I did actually Ultra Clear Plus, 4 bottles of that at around $100 a bottle. And in between, we did heavy metal and pesticide detoxes. So it was like 10 days, Ultra Clear Plus, wait a week, another 10 days to a month on a heavy metal, and then a week, and then back into the Ultra Clear. And so we cycled them. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to detox and I'm going to get rid of all my lead and mercury in one round. No, that's not the way the body works. And if you could do that, you would be very dangerous. So to recap, for detoxification, get out of the shower, remove those toxins, stop your exposures, support the natural detoxification project or process in the body, and then go and do the deep clean work. And so there we go. If you want to know more about me or what I do, you can check out my website. Sorry, I haven't updated it in a couple of years, but I do have some good articles on there that stand the test of time. Haven't updated because I'm busy doing other stuff, saving lives, as they say. I am also preparing for the clinical detox course that's coming up. That's 7 Wednesdays starting September 8th. And I am kind of excited about that. And we are going to cover, basically we covered here, what are the sources of toxins? The reason we do that is because you really need to know your enemy. And so we cover that. We're going to cover how detox works, because if you can explain to a client or yourself or a family member how it works and how what you're going to do will make it work and show how it works, then you're actually more likely to do it, and more likely that the person is going to do it, or even say, okay, I agree to it. So that we'll do some case studies for sure. And I'm going to go in depth into actually clinical research. And one of the things I like is I've had a lot of exposure to orthomolecular medicine doctors and functional medicine doctors. And I will show you what they are doing, because it's one thing to read something in a book, and it's another thing to see people who are very qualified, what they do. And they go, this is what I do in practice, and these are the results I get. So plus there's going to be a lot of published research and things like that. So happy to do that. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, so there is my email if you want to get a hold of me. And I think we are going to go to Q&A.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. You roll through that. I bet you could do the whole thing now in reverse. No problem.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Oh my gosh. Amazing. We do have some questions. So
Excellent.
If you have a little bit of time, could we do that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, super. Jessica Levitan, hello. How would you compare infrared saunas to a regular dry sauna in terms of its detoxification power?
Right. There's not a lot of research comparing those two. Infrared does go deeper. And so what it heats up the cells and the tissues deeper in. And by deeper, I mean like 1/4 inch, as opposed to starting from the surface and then going inwards. This actually starts deeper in. So it is definitely better. I always say, if you got infrared, go for that. If you don't, then go for what you have. Humans have been using saunas for thousands of years before infrared came along. So yeah, I'm game for both.
Helka Ferry, Dr. Kropp, Dr. Zoltan Rona, Dr. Ganaj, all the ones in town that we know and love, they love the infrared from Sonoray, because the adhesives that they use, the wood that they use, everything is, even the EMF output is very low. So it's a good one. We don't get any plugs or anything. Like, we don't get any residuals. I just know that that's a good one.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay, so we're good with Jessica. Teresa, oh yes, Teresa, anyone can take the course at all. Absolutely. It's on our website, and you can email and definitely register. It's wonderful. Shireen says, excellent presentation, Paul. Any suggestions for detoxing? I'm just going to say vaccines. I read N-acetylcysteine and liposomal glutathione may help in detox graphene oxide.
Right. So, the saying, if you...
This is going to go on the YouTube.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that information isn't right. Words have there are algorithms right now, and so let's just pause and reflect on answers.
Okay, no problem. So the saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day; teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. When you're looking at detoxing, if you understand how detox works and understand what you want to get rid of, so in vaccines, it could be the mercury, it could be other compounds, you go, well, what do I need to detox mercury? And so if you understand detox, then you just do mercury detox. And then you go, okay, if I'm pulling the mercury out, what do I need for binders? And so once you understand the process, basically the teach a man to fish, you learn how to detox different things and how the process works. Then you pick and choose the appropriate detox agents or processes. So
now, with the particular one that Shireen is asking about, can we speak to N-acetylcysteine for a moment? And
yeah.
Shireen, just FYI, Paul answers all questions very transparently in his courses because they're not for public consumption on YouTube.
Yes, I'm a big fan of N-acetylcysteine, absolutely, for a bunch of reasons. And alpha lipoic acid. Those two are both shown to decrease toxicity on their own and as being built into glutathione. Yeah, and some of them, NAC binds heavy metals. I believe alpha lipoic does as well. So yeah, so I'm a big fan of those. I teach in the course my glutathione boosting protocol, which I have on hand. It's like, oh, am I going to take the subway with all those people with their toxic fragrances? Yeah, I take that before I go. So, yeah. So, and it's vitamin C, NAC, alpha lipoic acid, selenium, a few other things, but there you go. So, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Shireen. Debbie wants to know what appropriate cookware to use so that toxins don't seep in the food. Now, I want to plug Megan Telpner, and I know I want you to answer too, but Megan Telpner has a beautiful blog on cookware. megantelpner.com. But Paul, please.
Right.
Let us know.
So it's kind of, you go on a level of more and more toxic. So the least toxic thing you could have is glass. Now you got to kind of watch where your stuff comes from, because although I think glass, even from China, is inert, I don't know for sure. But as you go down, so good quality stainless steel, here's where I would not get anything low quality from China ever, because you're liable to get all kinds of things in there. And the sad thing is, good quality stainless steel used to be made in Canada and the US, and now they're starting again, but I would look for something made outside of China that is good quality. And then so you got stainless steel, then and I would consider on par as a good quality ceramic coated something. The thing about ceramic coating is it's the ceramic to touch the food, so the rest of it could be aluminum. I wouldn't do the aluminum. Most good quality ceramic will be the ceramic layer touches the food, then a stainless steel, and then aluminum on the bottom to transmit the heat, aluminum or copper. And then what do we got after that? I wouldn't use copper. Actually, absolutely never use copper to cook with. I'm Amazon Prime. I'm not promoting these guys by any means, but I got them because I needed to get a cable for a conference that I needed real quick. And then they go, hey, do you know you get videos or you get movies for free? And so now I'm watching House. And so we're 8 episodes in, and it's been copper poisoning twice, once from copper cookware, cadmium from things and that kind of stuff. So you do not want copper touching your food. I think I covered all the main food sources. So glass, stainless steel, and ceramics. Those are the only things I use.
Cast iron?
Cast iron, the only issue with cast iron, I think it's okay, but you shouldn't do it all the time, because iron toxicity is a real thing. So, and it tends to happen more when people clean their cast iron things. Like, from my understanding, if you properly use your cast iron thing, you never clean it. So you build a layer of residue over top. But you still...
Yeah, you never use soap. You never use soap. You can use water, right, but no soap. That's for sure. Right. Interesting. Yeah, and glass is amazing, just very breakable. You have to be very careful with glass, although it is ultimately excellent. Yes.
Right.
I'm going to pop Megan's. You'll like Megan's piece here too. Can we go to the next question? Let me look here. Sorry, Paul, and thank you for that. Is cast iron safe for cooking? Consider level. What would you consider an excessive level of mercury in the blood?
Anything over 0. Oh my God. However, unlikely that anybody is 0 anywhere on the planet now. Maybe some indigenous tribes. I would say, the excessive depends on a few things. So if you get a hair mineral test and mercury is high and the minerals that counter it are low, then that would be toxic. The only way you can, let's put it this way. If you get a hair mineral test and mercury comes in outside of the normal range, that is high. Remember, blood tests for mercury show current exposure, like today, right now. And if you have a blood test that shows current exposure, it's too high. You shouldn't have any in your blood.
Okay, thank you. You would be interested, Paul, and maybe the rest of you, there is a webinar coming up with an HTMA expert on copper toxicity. You might like that one. Beatrice, she would like to know, what do you say about Ayurvedic cleanses? Interesting question. Are they as good as a detoxification practice or more supportive? Now, we're asking about a 5,000-year-old tradition here. That's a tough one. So, Paul, what do you think about Ayurvedic cleanses?
It's all in the wording here. I think you got to pick a model. So if you want to be North American model, I don't think it's compatible with the way we do things. Largely because the Ayurvedic ones, they do work. I've had clients who've had the opportunity to go to India and do them, and they work. And they work because it's part of the entire package, which includes diet and removal from stressors that would be normally there, because mental stressors and work stressors have a huge impact. And so if you tried to do that model here without doing the rest of the package, so just the herbs and other nutrients, you might be able to pull it off, but I have seen people try it and not pull it off. So I think there's value there. And we do use a lot of Ayurvedic herbs and other nutrients. It's just, I think you have to either go all in or not.
You nailed it. Every other faculty will say the same thing, Paul.
Okay.
They'll say, pick a methodology, pick an ideology, pick a principle, a platform, and use that one to its fullest, because it's full package. So you're perfect. We're a 10 for 10, 10 for 10. Patricia. Oh, Shireen, don't worry. Don't worry about the question. Patricia, how can we know dosage amounts for nutrients like NAC or ALA that don't have an RDA recommendation? And I want to know that as well, because I have a bottle of NAC and I'm taking it the way that I feel like I want to take it.
Right.
But Patricia's saying, they're, however inadequate those recommendations are, she's bang on, right? So how do we discern upwards from the RDA?
I think you do what I do. You look at thousands of research papers, or you take advice from somebody who has looked at thousands of research papers. My dosing for NAC, like we look at the mental health in the context of mental health, and I know 2 grams is basically a standard dose, right? 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams twice a day. In the papers, research studies use up to 6 grams, and so no toxicity at that level. When you know that, And then you know your person, because it's never, I read this paper, therefore it applies to everybody. Yeah, I know your person, but then you know the upper thresholds for these nutrients, then you can have some confidence in recommending higher levels. And that's one of the things that I do in the course is I show you the dosage levels that functional medicine doctors do, orthomolecular doctors do, and even medical doctors, right? So that's how you know, right? The other way is you go, you pick your nutrient, go to Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine and type that in the journal archives and see what comes up. A lot of them are covered there in research papers, so you can see the dosing they use.
Yes. And as you said, rolling back to your point, what I've always done for the last 15 years, if I want to know something, I'll choose a faculty member or an expert and I'll say, can I have half an hour of your time? What do you charge? Because they're going to save me hours of work. And you get it from somebody who's already done a meta-analysis, and it's perfect.
Right.
Right. Here's a question from Sandra, and I'm reading it off my desktop here, if you're wondering why I'm looking this way. Just wondering, detoxing for a cancer survivor, breast and brain, is it too dangerous to use milk thistle for liver? True or false? And then she says, great presentation.
All right, well, thanks. Is it too dangerous? I guess it depends. So I would want to ensure there's resiliency there, nutrient loads, so supplement support beforehand. And then, how little can you go to start, right? Because like I would definitely not take the bottle and say, what does this say in the bottle, and do that. Although you're probably safe. I would probably start at half that or quarter of that. And then over time, say every week, go by double it, right? Until we get to therapeutic doses. But you definitely want to have the nutrients in place beforehand. And the reality is you do have to detox those chemicals. And remember, chemotherapy kills cancer cells. And Dr. Michael Schachter, an oncologist in Toronto, I remember him saying there is nothing more toxic to the human body than a dead cancer cell, because they release all their stuff. So you got to do it. Maybe you don't drive the liver too much, or maybe you do the detox powders that I showed you, but at, say, a quarter dosing. And because low and slow is a way to go too, right? It's about, we like to go, here's your 10-day detox, but you can take that 10-day detox and make it into 30-day, but just decrease all the dosing. All right.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I think it was you that once told me to watch out how you approach clients, because you can stress them out more. You and Alexandra Hurtado, you can stress them out more by giving them a hammer to use. Just take it easy, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I mean, in the context of mental health, especially anxiety, depression, bipolar, where there's a risk of suicide, you got to go absolutely low and slow with everything you do, including the detox. So,
okay. Thank you. Cameron. Cameron's always felt that the best way to heal something was not to use it. Much like a broken arm, he applies the same theory with the gut. Begin healing by reducing load on the gut, fasting, with supportive nutrients. If we wanted to heal the liver, we could start by reducing stress on the liver. Or is this, in fact, just detoxing? Then he says, I suppose I would like to know your thoughts on whether healing and detoxing are in some way synonymous. That's a good question.
I would say no, they're not, because if I cut my finger, I'm going to heal that, and it's not detox. So that's one way of looking at it. If you say in order to heal, you must detox, that would only be valid in the context of your illness is driven by toxic load. So, but if you're going to reduce the load on the liver, well, if people have dysbiosis and leaky gut, 80% of their toxic load is being generated in the gut. So that is where you must start, right? So I think we're in agreement there. I always start with the gut. Now, the next question is, what do you reduce if you're reducing the load on the gut for healing? Because I could tell you, I have seen now published research that says you can get rid of, what do we call it, SIBO and biofilms in 14 days on a pure carnivore diet. So, because it's a zero carbohydrate diet. And so now it's been published in a peer-reviewed journal. And so, we think that meat is hard to digest, and I don't actually believe that anymore. So I think we have more than enough capacity, most people. So what do you take out? And I think it depends on the person. And I don't think there's a clear answer to that in research yet. Yeah.
Are you still carnivoring, by the way?
No. So mostly meat, and so diet would be meat or animal products and non-starchy veggies most of the time.
Non-starch, and you've tried every kind of regimen out there.
Pretty much. There's a few I haven't tried yet.
A few you have. Oh, wow. Oh, what's that?
So the problem is, if you're going to do a proper trial, it takes several weeks. And so if you got 100 things you want to test, there's like 5 years right there, right?
Right. True that. Cameron just said, thank you very much. Cameron, did Paul answer your question? Did you want to add anything else to that? Kate says, carnivore is life-changing. Patricia, thank you very much for the OM journal resource. She loved the presentation. These are just some lovely thanks here. Thanks, Paul. I understand the more I'm learning about Ayurveda, the more I'm identifying with it. I'll be doing an Ayurvedic cleanse in the fall and yoga and mindful practices. P.S. My first legit detoxification, right? If she's all in, if Beatrice is all in, it's going to work.
I have seen people who have had things that conventional approaches could not be healed by Ayurveda. So, but gone to India. So,
yeah. We have one more. Oh, sorry, love. Say it again.
It is doable here. Oh,
it is doable.
And one last thing, carnivore is not for everybody.
Yeah.
It might have been at one time, but it's not for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Cameron, this video will be posted on YouTube, IHN's YouTube. From there, you can share wherever you'd like to share. Okay. But I have to edit it out. I have to edit out a few bits and pieces, and then you can share it. So any more questions before we go? We've had Paul for an extra half hour here, which is lovely. But I think we're good, Paul.
Okay.
Really appreciate your time. As always, looking forward to the course. And we're just so happy to have you on faculty for so long and doing so many amazing things.
Well, thank you very much. And yeah, I did actually enjoy doing this. It was good. It's good
Very
fun.
good. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. And good night, everyone. Good night.
Night.
Bye.